We'll begin today the Gemara on Daf Ayin Beis Amud Beis, the last two lines on the bottom of the Yamud. The Gemara continues. We had a mission here that spoke about a person that's Makadesh Isha. He makes a condition with her only if you have no Nedarim. You Mekadeshes, then he finds out that she has Nedarim. Then the Mishnah said Kinsa. He brought her in, which means the second stage of marriage, and that was Stam, without any Nedarim. And then he finds out she has Nedarim. So then he can give her a get without any Kesubos. That was the simple reading of the Mishnah. The Gemara here is going to come back to explain exactly how you read these two parts of the Mishnah, but it starts with a machloikis between Rav and Shmuel regarding this concept. So Itmer, we learned the following argument. Kitsha al Tanai. He was Mekadesh, his wife, with a condition that she has no Nedarim. And the Kinsa Stam, but then afterwards, he married her fully, the second stage of marriage, Bia, brought her into his house, is living with her, and he didn't mention anything at that point. Rav Amar, so Rav says, Tzricha heimenu get, that because when he brought her in, he did not mention any conditions, so she's going to need a get. The marriage took effect. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, Eina tzricha heimenu get, you do not need a get. The first stage of Kiddushin was with a condition. So even after, by the second stage of Kedushin, he didn't mention anything about that condition he made, doesn't matter. He already made that condition before. So now, she's not going to need any get. So the Gemara will explain Rav's opinion. Shmuel's opinion is very understood. He made the condition in the beginning. So even by the second stage of marriage, he has marital relations with her, and he did not make any condition at this point. It doesn't matter, but he already made a condition before, so there's no marriage here. So how do we explain Rav's opinion? How do we explain Rav's opinion that if he made a condition before, so even if later, when he was kindness, or he brought her in fully, he did not make any condition, the marriage takes effect. How? So the Gemara explains. Amar Abaye. So Abaye explains. Loi teima. Do not think to explain Rav's opinion that time made the Rav. The reason of Rav is that Kiv and Shekin Sastam. Since now, when he marries at the second stage of marriage, so he doesn't mention anything, he doesn't specify. So achuli achlil itnoi. So maybe we could say that at this point, he forgave his condition that he made before. Why didn't he mention anything now? So he forgot. He's not interested in that condition anymore. And now Rashi explains, if that would be the pshat, so that would mean that the marriage is a full marriage, and if he would want to divorce her, he would have to give her a ksuba, like a regular marriage, even though he made a condition originally, but the fact that later he didn't mention this condition, that means that he forgave it altogether. So Abaye says that's not the explanation of what Rav is saying. Rather, time the Rav, the reason for what Rav is saying is it's because when he actually brought her in and he has marital relations with her, so we say that a person does not want this to be a relation that's outside of a marriage. He wants this relation itself to be a marriage. And therefore, when he's boiler, when he has relations with her, he's doing it l'shem kiddushin. So it comes out as follows. You have the Kedushin that he made in the beginning, and there he made a condition. But now, when he's being boil her, so he's thinking to himself, I want this to be a marriage either way, whether that condition is fulfilled or not, because he doesn't want that it should be a bilas nus. If it turns out that she has nedarim and the condition is not fulfilled, so then this relation will be a bilas nus. It's outside of a marriage, and a person does not want that. So therefore, Rashi explains that there's two different things here. On one hand, we say that the Kedushin takes effect. But on the other hand, regarding the Dinei Mamanis, the original Tanai that he made, he does not agree to give her a Kesubos if she has Nedarim upon herself. Since we see that before, by the time when he made the Kedushin originally, he did make a condition with her that she should not have any Nedarim. He's not ready to give her a Kesubos. He's not obligating himself to give her a Kesubos if it turns out that she has Nedarim. The only thing that he does not want is that there should be a bia that should be called as nus. A yid doesn't want to do an averi, he doesn't want it to be znus. So therefore the bia will be considered to be a marriage. But regarding the fact that he doesn't want those nedarim, and if it turns out she has nedarim, that he wants to divorce her, and he doesn't want to have to go through to pay the ksuba money, that still remains true. He doesn't want to pay the ksuba money. So therefore, he's going to have to divorce her, but he's not going to have to give her a ksuba. That's the pshat in Rav's opinion.
Sounds like both worlds.
He wants the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So that's what it sounds like.
Okay. So it's interesting because the Taisus Rosh actually asks this question on Rashi's pshat. There's other pshatim here in the Rishonim and the Gemara. I'm telling you Rashi's pshat. The Tosfos Rosh asks on the Gemara, how could a person do such a thing? I mean, the Torah says when you marry a woman, you're obligated to give a Kesubos. You're masnal mashakasa b'Torah. We had a whole sugi before when a person makes a condition that he's not even going to give the full Kesubos. Lav dafka person has a koyach to do that. B'chlal. Here, ain't adamaisa bilas abilas no. So we say that the marriage does take effect, but on the other hand, the t'nai that he made in the beginning, he still does not want his wife to have nedarim, and therefore he's not going to be ready to give her a Kesubos. Yeah, it's a shaila, it's a problem. The Tosfos Rosh asks this question, but this is Rashi's pshat. So the point of here is, so how do we now understand the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel? Shmuel says that no, the person does not mind the fact that the be'ilah might end up to be his nus, that if it turns out that his wife has nedarim, and it's not a real marriage, so the bia will end up being his nus, and because he made that t'nai in the beginning, we say that he's still concerned about that t'nai, and even now when he's having relations with her, if it turns out that she has a neder, this bia will be his nus, and therefore, what did Shmuel say? You don't need any get, because he already made that condition in the beginning. So that's the point of the machlokes. Frag the Gemara. If that's the point of the machlokes, this concept they already argued about once before. The Itmar, we learned the following machlokes. We once learned this also in Gemara and Yevamis. Ketana shaloi miyana. A ketana is someone that she gets married by her brothers or by her mother. It's not a kedusha min hatayre. It's only a kedusha min derabanan while she's a ketana. And then once she becomes a gedola, she has the right to refuse and reject the whole marriage. But here, this katana did not refuse this marriage, vigdila, and she's already a gedola, and she continued living with her husband. She had another relation with her husband that she was married to as a katana, a kedushim derabanan, and now she was with him after she was a gedola. And then amda, she gets up, vinisis, and she goes and gets married to somebody else after she already lived with him with her first husband when she was a gedola. So Rav Omar says, Rav, ein tzricha get. She does not need a get from the second husband. And the reason is because when she lived with her husband, the second time, when she lived with her husband, when she was already a gedola, so the bia with her husband was l'shem kiddushin. Yeah. Even though l'chatchila she was married to her husband only midarabanan, because only her mother married her off. But now, once she lived with her husband as a gedola, this is considered to be a marriage min hatayra. They didn't necessarily specify that. He just lived with her. He continued living with her. It didn't clearly specify that this is going to be a new Kedushim in Atayra. But, as the Gemara will explain, the reason is because, according to Rav, if he's continuing to live with his wife that he lived with before as a katana, now as a gedola, he definitely means to create a new marriage min hatayra now, and not that it should stam be of the ilah of znus. So therefore, the first husband was really fully married to her min hatayra. So if she goes and gets married to someone else, she doesn't need any get from the second person. She's an ashes, a full ashes ish min hatayra already. Shmuel says, tzricha get misheni. She will need a get from the second husband. The reason is, even though she continued living with her first husband even after she was a gedola already, but she never specified with him that this should be l'shem marriage. So therefore Shmuel says we can say that when he continued living with her as a gedola, he continued with the same mindset as when she was a katana, which wasn't a marriage min hatayra. And therefore, now he's living with her, and he's not living with her in a bia of kedusha min hatayra. It's like a be'ilah znus. He's just continuing to live with her, and he never was really mekadosh her min hatayra. So therefore, now if she goes and gets a kedusha from a second person, so the second kedusha is going to take effect. She's going to have a get from the second person. However, Rashi points out that even from the second person, she's not allowed to continue living with the second person, even though you might say, well, from the first person, the whole marriage was just midarabanan, and now she went and was makabel kedushin from a second person, where the kedushin was chal min hatayra, so let her just drop the first husband and live with the second husband. But it doesn't work that way. Midarabanan, she will need a get from the first husband before she wants to go and get married to the second husband. So because she went first and got married to the second husband, she's going to have a get. But the point is, we see here clearly a machlokes between Rav and Shmuel in this scenario, when she was living with her husband as a katana, and then she continued living as a gedola. How do we look at this relationship with her husband as a gedola? Do we say that even though it was unspecified, but for sure a person does not want this be'ilah to be as nus, and therefore this is now a marriage min hatayra? Or do we say no, that the be'ilah will be considered to be as nus, and the continuation of his relation with her is not a relationship in a marriage? It's like a be'ilah as nus. So this is the same machlokes that Rav and Shmuel have over here regarding a person that has a relation with his wife after he made a condition before. So the Gemara answers, tzricha. We have to have this machlokes explained to us in both cases of Rav and Shmuel. If we would have the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel only regarding the case that we started off with, the case of the Tanai, so I would say, Bahi Kama Rav, only there did Rav say that Eino de Maisa Bilasa Bilas Nos, and the reason is Mishum de Leket No, because right now he did not make any condition. Again, let me state this again. Bahi goes on the case over there by the Ketana that became a Gedolah. And over there, Rav said that even though she started off as a Ketana, and then she continued to have a relation with her husband as a Gedolah, and nothing was specified. It's only over there that Rav says that even without specifying, the new Bia as a Gedolah will be like a new marriage. And it's not continuing from before. She's fully married minatayra. The reason is, Mishum deleket na. Over there was no any conditions that were made from before. So therefore, everybody knows that when she was living with his wife as a ketana, it wasn't a marriage. So now, when he's living with her as a gedaila, it's understood, it's self-understood that it's going to be a new full marriage minatayra, and it's not going to just be a bilas nus. No, but maybe over here, the case that we're talking about is when he made a t'nai for the kiddushin, and then he went and married her fully without any t'nai. So over here, maybe I would say that he agrees to Shmuel that he made a clear t'nai. So even though b'shas he had be with her, he didn't specify anything. But over here, you would say that it continues on the t'nai that you made before. So therefore, it's a chiddush that Rav says that even here we ignore the t'nai that was made before regarding the bia, at least regarding the kedushin, even if not regarding the ksuba, but regarding the bia, we ignore that t'nai from before. That's a much bigger chiddush here. And the same we also understand in the reverse. V'yit mebaha. If we would only say over here the case regarding the t'nai. So Bahaka Shmuel, it's here that Shmuel said that since you made a t'nai in the beginning, so the bia later follows along with that t'nai, and therefore you don't need any get if it turns out that she has a neder and the t'nai is not fulfilled. So Bahaka Shmuel, Ava Bahach, but over there by the case of the ketana, and then she became a gedolah, so Ema Maidi Leila Rav. Maybe over there I would say that that Shmuel agrees to Rav, because over there it's clear, everybody knows that before she's a ketana, now she's a gedolah, and therefore as a gedolah, you have to have, it's not a continuation of the same marriage as a ketana. So maybe he would agree to Shmuel that it's a full marriage. Tzriche, that's why it has to say Shmuel's opinion over there as well. Maidele lerav, that is maide to Rav. So tzriche, we have to have both of these machlokesen regarding the case of a tanai and regarding the case of a ketana and a gedolah. Now, the Gemara will bring our Mishnah. We had before the Mishnah that, it depends how you learn the Mishnah, it could be a clear raya l'chayre to Rav. So Tanan, it said in the Mishnah, kinsa stam. That's okay. So the Gemara actually starts in the middle of the Mishnah, but in order to understand this Gemara, so you have to look back at the Mishnah of Ayin Beis Amid Beis. So there, the Mishnah started off saying, So the first part of the Mishnah was that it was Mekadesher with a condition, that she should have no Nedarim. And then the Mishnah continues afterwards, Kin Sastam, what the Gemara quotes here, Kin Sastam, now, the second stage of marriage, he lives with her, and V'nimtzo le Nedarim, and it turns out that there are Nedarim, so the Mishnah says, Teitzei Shaloi B'Ksuba. So he could divorce her, and he does not have to give her a Ksuba, but the marriage takes effect. So how does the Gemara understand this Mishnah now? The Gemara understands that the Reisha and the Seifa go together. That when it says kin sastam, the kin sastam is after he was Mekadesher with a t'nai. Exactly the case that Rav and Shmuel were arguing about. He was first Mekadesher with a t'nai, and then afterwards he lived with her without a t'nai. What happens now? Does the bia itself is the bia itself considered to be a kedushin for itself, and therefore eino the ma'isa bilasa bilas nus, and the kedushin takes effect or not? So according, if you're going to learn the Mishnah goes together, the two parts of the Mishnah goes together, it says exactly what Rav said, that ksuba hudulei bay, if he wants to divorce her, he does not have to give her a ksuba, because that a condition that he made originally still is in effect for as far as the ksuba is concerned. But as far as the get is concerned, he will have to give her a get. So my love, don't you think the pshat of the Mishnah is that we read through both parts of the Mishnah together? Kitsha al t'nai, that first he was Mekadesher with a condition, and then V'kin Sastam, and then he lived with her without specifying anything, and the condition takes effect. Eino the ma'isa bilasa bilas nus, so the B is the condition. Yufta the Shmuel, so this refutes Shmuel's opinion. Says the Gemara, that's not how you read the Mishnah. The two parts of the Mishnah are to be read separately. The case over here is Kitcha Stam, the Kimsa Stam. This second part of the Mishnah is a separate story, not continuing from what it said before that he made first the Kedushin with a Tnai. Over here it's talking about a case where it was Mekadesher without specifying anything. He married her fully without specifying anything. And then, of course, the Kedushin takes effect. But still, he will not have to give her a Kesubah. The Gemara will get back to explain that soon. Why will he not have to give her a Kesubah? But the Gemara is just saying this is a separate case. Says the Gemara, if this is taka a separate case, so now avol, kitchal tnai, the kinsistam, if it would be a case where it was both together, that he started off with a kedushin, with a condition, and then he fully married her stam unspecifying, like the case that Rav and Shmuel spoke about. So halchanami, are you going to say like Shmuel's opinion, the loy boy gita, that she will not need a get at all, because since there was a condition in the beginning, the bia later is just as nus and there's no marriage here at all? But if so, why didn't the Mishnah tell me that chiddush? The Tani, why is the Mishnah saying? I'm a Kadisher, I'm a Nashen, he's Mekadesher with the condition that there's no neder. And it turns out there is a neder. That the Kedushin doesn't take effect. The Mishnah should have said, according to Shmuel, a much bigger chiddush. Listen, let the Mishnah say, Kinsa Stam. That not only if he's Mekadesher, and it turns out with a Tanai that she has no neder, and it turns out that she has a neder that she's not Mekadeshus, but the Mishnah should have said that even if kin sastam, even if afterwards he lived with her and he did not specify the Tanai at that point, and it turns out that there is a neder, that still ain't a Mekadeshus. The bia afterwards, even if it was stam, the Kedushin does not take effect. Why did the Mishnah not say this? According to Rav, this is what the Mishnah is saying. According to Rav, you read the two parts of the Mishnah together. But according to Shmuel, that you separate the two parts of the Mishnah, why would the Mishnah not say this if this is a much bigger chiddush? And v'kol shekein ha, most definitely I would know, if a person is mekadesh and with a t'nai, and it turns out that the t'nai is not fulfilled, that she's eina mukadeshes, for sure, v'kol shekein ha, for sure in that case that she's not mukadeshes. If kinsa stam, when he did not specify when he had bia with her, she would not be mukadeshes. For sure, if he did not have kinsa stam, for sure she wouldn't be mukadeshes. So the kitzur, the Gemara's question is, why did the Mishnah not say the bigger chiddush that Shmuel said? And says the Gemara, according to Shmuel, not only are the two parts of the Mishnah separated from each other, but actually the reisha of the Mishnah, we read the Mishnah this way. This is what the Mishnah means to say. Hachanami kama. This is what the Mishnah means to say. The first part of the Mishnah you read as follows. He's Mekadesh's wife with the condition that there's no neder on her. And then you read into the Mishnah. What the Mishnah means to say is, and v'kinsa stam, even if he later had a relation with her and he did not specify anything, and it turns out that she has a neder, the Kedushin does not take effect. Then the next case of the Mishnah is, like we already said before, Kitcha Stam, the Kinsa Stam, he's Mekadesher, does not specify any condition, and he lives with her, does not specify any condition. Teitze, Shaloi B'Ksuba, he could divorce her if it turns out that she does have Nedarim. A person can say, I can't live with my wife that has Nedarim, so therefore he could divorce her without any Ksuba. So that's how you read the Mishnah according to Shmuel. But now the Gemara will address this last point over here. If a person marries his wife and he made no conditions at all, and it turns out that she has a neder, so the marriage took effect. He didn't make any conditions. But he does not have to give her a ksuba. The question is, why not? Ksuba, okay, what's up? The Gemara Text says, ksuba u'dulot bayi. So what we're saying over here is that ksuba, he does not have to give her. Hagita bayi, but he will have to give her a get. So the question is, why are we saying that a person has the right to divorce his wife and he does not have to pay her a ksuba, even though he didn't specify, he didn't make any conditions with her about this? But we can say as follows: the Omar, the husband, can say, even without making clearly a condition, it's as if I made a condition, because it's a self-understood thing that I can't live with a wife that makes these nedarim upon herself. I can't live with her. So, if so, let's say the same thing regarding a get. Get nami leit to boy. He shouldn't have to give his wife a get, even without making a condition. We should say that it's as if he made a condition. It's self-understood that he can't live with such a kind of a wife. So, this is all according to Shmuel. Right? According to Shmuel, he holds that we do not say Eina the Maisa Bilasa Bilas Nos. Rav says, when you marry a woman and you're having relations with her, you do not want the bia to be out of marriage. So for sure, he wants the marriage to take effect and he'll have to give her a get. Shmuel disagrees with that. Shmuel says, if a person realizes that this is not a wife I want to live with, in his mind, he doesn't care if we're going to retroactively say that the bia with her was his nus. So if we're saying over here that he doesn't have to give her a ksubah because it's self-understood that he doesn't want to live with a wife like this once he discovers that she has these nedarim upon herself, according to Shmuel, we should say the same thing regarding the whole kedushin. That once he discovers that she has nedarim, he's not interested in the whole thing, and he doesn't mind if retroactively we're going to say that the bia before was his nus. So why does she need it? Yeah, sort of. So why does she need a get altogether? So the Gemara answers, Omar Rabbe, tzricha get medevrayim. You're right, according to Shmuel, the get the Mishnah says over here would only be midrabanan because it looks like he got married to her. So midrabanan we require this get. V'chein Omer Rav Chisda also said tzricha get medevrayim. The whole get is only midrabanan. Rava says another pshat. Tana sfuki misapkele. The Tana has a suffix about this when a person is mekadosh stam, and then it turns out that his wife has nedarim that she made. Could a person say that I can't live with such a wife? Or a person can't say that. If you didn't specify, so then you're not. We say you're not particular, and the marriage takes effect. The Tana has a suffix about this, and therefore Gabi regarding a money matter, she wants to collect a ksuba from him. So lekula, we're lenient. Lenient means that we say the klal of hameitz mechavere olavaraya. She wants to collect a ksuba from him. She's going to have to prove that she has the right to. He's claiming and saying that I can't live with you, and therefore the whole condition never took effect. But Gabi isura. When it comes to the Isser of Eishes Ish L'chomra, over here we're going to be Machmer. Since he didn't specify, it's possible that the Kedushin did take effect, and he'll have to give a get. So therefore, this is a Tana really has a suffix about this point itself over here, whether a person could say Efshi or Efshi. Omar Rav. Now, going back again to the machlokes here between Rav and Shmuel. Again, what was the case? We're talking about a person that by the Kedushin, he made a condition, and then later, by the Bia, when he came to fully get married with her, he didn't specify anything. So Rav and Shmuel had a machlokes whether the Bia itself will be a Kedushin or not. So now Rav says, machlokes betos shtei noshim. The whole machlokes between Rav and Shmuel is, if there's a mistake here with two, that involves two women. What does this mean, a mistake that involves two women? That a person was Makadish one Isha. And when he was Makadish the first Isha, he made a condition. And then he was Makadish a second Isha. And when he was Makadish a second Isha, he did not make any condition. And then he went and married her Stam. He married the second woman. He married the second woman Stam. So now the question is, do I say that because he made a condition with a previous woman that he was Makadish, so therefore this second woman that he was Makadish Stam, and then he was kindness her Stam, that he still is relying on the Tanai that he made with the first woman, that proves and shows that he can't live with a Isha that makes in the Darim? Or do I say that no, because he was Makadish one Isha, and then he was Makadish a second Isha, and regarding the second Isha, he never made any condition whatsoever, so therefore I'm going to say that the Bia with the second Isha is going to be a good Kedushin. And the neder, the condition rather, the condition that she made with the previous wife does not matter regarding this wife. Again, shtei noshim. Okay, so we're talking, we're talking about shtei noshim over here. Regarding the first Isha, she made a condition. Regarding the second Isha, she did not make a condition. And then he lives with her, and it turns out that she has nedarim. So again, do I say that I take what he said for the first wife to let us know what he means for the second wife as well when he's living with her, or not? Aval, that's where the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel is. Only in such a case. Aval betos isha achas. But if it's a mistake, or in other words, mistake over here means unspecified. When he lived with one wife, he was Makadisher, and then he lived with her unspecified, and it's all one wife. And over here, we learned before the machlokes whether when he lived with her unspecified, do I say that the bia itself is the kedushin or not? Says Rabba over here in such a case, divrei hakol ein tzrichei meno get. Everybody, even Rav, would agree that he does not need a get, and even when he lives with her without specifying, he's relying on the fact that he already made a condition before. Why should he have to specify again? He already made the condition before clearly. Right? So therefore, in such a case, even Rav would agree that he does not need a get. And the point the Gemara is saying over here is that you can't say if a person specifies clearly by the kedushin of this wife, and then he goes and lives with her and does not specify again, that he He doesn't mean to continue the condition that he said before, and now at the bia, he wants this bia itself to be an unconditional marriage. He already made a condition for this wife clearly. Why should he have to specify again now? So therefore Rabbi says the only time that there was machlokes between Rav and Shmuel is if he made a condition regarding one wife, and then he married a second wife, and by the second wife, when he lived with her, he did not make a condition. Over here, the question is regarding this bia, whether he's relying on the previous condition, and the bia will not be a kedushin, and it'll be a bia znus, or he's not relying on the previous night because it was a different wife, and therefore now this bia will not be a bia znus. Okay, so this is Rabbi's chiddush over here. So the Gemara. Second, where are we inside of here? Omar Abaye. So did I skip something? Omar Abaye. Everybody will agree in such a case that he would not need a get if we're talking only about one wife. Omar Abaye. So Abaye says to Rabba, how could you say this pshat? V'hal masnisen. The Mishnah that we brought up before, we asked from our Mishnah on the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel, and over there, in that case, the To'as Isha Achasi, in the Mishnah, we're speaking about a person that married just one wife. He married her, first it was a kedushin with a condition, then he lived with her without a condition, but it was all talking about one wife. And we asked a question from our Mishnah on Shmuel's opinion, and because of this, we had to change the pshat of our Mishnah. So, according to you, Rabbi, this whole question from our Mishnah doesn't begin b'chlal. So Rashi explains what's bothering Abaye. So Adarabba, according to Rabbi, you'll say that there's no question from the Mishnah in the first place. So Rashi says Rabbi did not live in the generation of Rav and Shmuel. Rabbi lived much later. And Rabbi is saying that this is what Rav and Shmuel must have meant. It's not mistaver at all to say that when you make a condition with the same wife that later the bia should not be following that condition. So what Abai is saying is, look, all the Bnei Yeshiva in our time period did ask the question from this Mishnah, and nobody thought to give this answer that you said, that the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel is only when there was two wives over here. So it must be that all the Bnei Yeshiva that asked the question from the Mishnah disagree with you. And they learned the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel kipshuta regarding the same wife. You made a condition by the kedushin, and then you married her without specifying. And the question is, maybe the bia itself is a new kedushin. Awesome. So therefore the Gemara says, this is not what Rabbi meant to say. If we learned, this is really what Rabbi said over here. Amar Rabbi said, Machlokes b'toas isha achas ke'en shtei noshim. The machlokes of Rav and Shmuel is only regarding one wife in a situation where it's this wife similar to two noshim, to two wives. What does that mean? So Rashi explains that he was Mekadesh his wife, then after the Kiddushin, before he lived with her B'chlal, it's only half marriage. So after the Kiddushin, he divorced her. Then he was Mekadesh, and when the first time he was Mekadesh her, he made condition. He made a clear condition with her, Al-Manas Yav no Nedarim. But then he divorces her, then he's Mekadesh her a second time, and he does not specify anything, and then he's kindness her, he lives with her. So it's in such a case where Rav says that you could say that he was kindness her now, we don't go back to the condition that he made by the first Kiddushin, because in between, he divorced her and married her again. And when he married her the second time, he didn't make any condition. But if it's a mistake, in other words, he did not specify when he was kindness her, when it's just one woman alone, just simply he was Mekadesh her, and then was kindness her, and without any get in between, just directly Mekadesh and kindness. So then divrei get. So in such a case, everybody would agree that you don't need a get. Yeah, similar to the point that Rabbi said before, but not so extreme. Not by shtei noshim, but by isha achas, when he gave her a get in between, and therefore the question was asked from our Mishnah, because the Gemara understood that the case of the Mishnah over there is also talking about a case when he was megadasher in between. Right? So that's how the Gemara understood the pshat in our Mishnah before, according to Rav, and the Reisha and the Seifa of the Mishnah goes together. So the Gemara understood that over there the Mishnah is talking about the same exact thing, that he was Mekadesher, he was Megadesher, and then he was Mekadesher a second time, and he was Kindness Stam. Okay, so the Gemara, by the way, in the Lashon of the Gemara over here, Rashi does have a second shot. I'm not going to go through it, but there is something in the words of the Gemara that's not so clear, because the Gemara keeps on using the expression of ta'os. Ta'os means a mistake. But the Pashtus, according to this pshat of Rashi, there's no mistake over here. It's just a matter of the person not specifying. Rashi does have another pshat that it was two wives, and he made a mistake. He married one wife, and then by mistake he had beer with another one. Okay, but Rashi doesn't accept that pshat. In the pshat of the Gemara, Rashi says it's the way I explained it here. Okay, let's continue. Again, betos tisha achas geis divra karl and it's menu get. Okay, now Esvei Abaye. So Abaye asks on this pshat of Rabbi here. It says in a braysa, kitcha betos, person's mekadosh his wife, and it's a mistake. Now, we'll see soon the Gemara understands at this point, what does kitcha betos mean? The case that we're talking about, he was mekadosher, almanas that you have no nedarim, and then it turns out that she does have nedarim, so the whole kedushin doesn't take effect. Upachis mishava pruta, or he's mekadosh his wife with less than a shava pruta, the minimum amount that's needed for the kedushin to take effect. V'chein cotton shekiddush, a cotton that's mekadosh his wife, a cotton the kedushin does not take effect. So even if he sends all kinds of gifts to his wife later on, and so by the cotton, he sends these gifts to his wife once he's already a gadol, or before he only gave less than a pruta, but now he gives sevloinus. So he's sending to his wife much more than a pruta. Doesn't matter. The fact that he sent now these new gifts can't in itself be a new kedushin here. Shemachmas kedushin arishayim shalach, because he only sent all of this because he thought that the previous kedushin took effect, and it did not. But if he was boil his wife after this, so then the kedushin it will take effect. Once he's boiler, so then I say that he did it l'shem kedushin, and therefore this itself can be a kedushin, even if after he made a kedushin that did not take effect previously, right? Either because it was a mistake, because it was a t'nai and she had a neder, or because it was left on a shavapruta, or because she was a cotton. But now he was boiler, so the kedushin now does take effect.
He didn't know about the mistakes about fruit.
Second. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda mishom Rabbi Shmuel leime. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Shmuel that im balu loikanu. Even if he's boiler now, the kedushin still does not take effect. Because before the kedushin that he did could not take effect, the fact that it was boil her now, it's going to be a bilas nos, it does not take effect. So over here, you clearly see this machlokes regarding a situation where a person gave a kedushin and it does not take effect. And then he's boiler. The question is, do I say that the be'ila itself is the kedushin? Or do I say that no, the be'ila itself cannot be a kedushin and it's going to remain a bilas nos? So, frag the Gemara, over here, what is it speaking about in this Braise? The Tos, Isha Achasi. We're talking about the first case of the Braise when it said, Kitcha Betos. What does Kitcha Betos mean? Tos means that he discovered something in his wife that he did not accept. In other words, he made a condition. And it turns out that the condition is not fulfilled. She has a neder. So, and over here, what does it say? We're talking about one wife. Upligi, and you have here clearly in the Braisa this machlokes, whether if later he's boil her, whether now the kedushin can take effect or not. So my love, don't you think, what kind of a mistake are we talking about? Tos nidarim. We're talking about the tos of nidarim, the same exact machlokes that Rav and Shmuel spoke about. By the kedushin, he made a condition. Later he was boil her and he did not specify. And the question is whether the be'ila itself could be a marriage or not, exactly like Rabbi Shmuel says. So we see here that this is the argument regarding a Isha Achas. Not like Rabbi said, only a machlekes would only be if he divorced her in between and then he married her again. Answers the Gemara, that's not the case that we're speaking about here. It's not talking about the case where he made a neder and then there was a mistake because she did not fulfill the neder. Tos paches mishava pruta. The tos over here is that l'chatchila he didn't know. He gave her the kesef kiddushin less than the shava pruta, and it's only in that case where there's a machlekes if later he's boiler whether now the kiddushin will take effect. But he never made any clear conditions before. The machlekes of Rav and Shmuel was when they made a clear condition before. Over there, Rav said that if it's the same wife that he then goes and lives with her, if you made a clear condition, you can't say that the be'ila itself will be a marriage. Over here, the case is different. That he made a mistake and he gave her less than a shava pruta. Frek the Gemara, but how could you say that? Pachas mishava pruta bad yikatani. The Braisa afterwards says that that's a separate case, that he gave her less than a shava pruta. It starts off saying there's a case of kitcha betos, and then there's another case of pachas mishava pruta. So how can you say that that's what the tos over here in the Braisa means? And says the Gemara, no, kitcha betos upachas mishava pruta. The Braisa says separately that it's two separate things. There's one case of a tos and another case of a shava pruta. Answers the Gemara, it's not two separate things. Pirushik, Kamafarish, the way to read this Braisa is that when it says that he was Mekadosh with less than a Shava Pruta, he's just explaining what the mistake was. Keitcha Betos Keitzad, when it says that it was Mekadosh and the Kedushin was a mistake, what is the mistake? Kagain Shekitcha Bepachas Mishava Pruta, that he gave her money less than a Shava Pruta. So it's all one thing. And over here, that's the Machlaikis in this Braisa, if now he's Boiler, whether the Kedushin will take effect. So how do we explain this machlekes? Before the Gemara wanted to explain that the machlekes is like the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. When a person makes a condition before, and then later he wants to live with her, do I say that he still wants the Tanai to be fully in effect, and the Bia is no condition at all? Or do I say no, that he doesn't want that night to be fully in effect and he wants the Bia to take effect? But now that you're saying that he was Mekadosh with less than a Shava Pruta, so what's the explanation of this machlekes, whether when he's boil or later, whether the Kedushin should take effect or not? Says the Gemara machlekes is as follows. Mar Sava, one opinion here is, Adam Yideya, everybody knows, She'en Kedushin Taifshin B'pachas M'Shava Pruta, that the Kedushin cannot take effect with less than a Shava Pruta. So what happened? He was Mekadosh earlier, and he probably thought that the money that he gave her, or the ring that he gave her, is worth a Shava Pruta, and then it turns out that it wasn't. So, and he knows that it wasn't. So therefore, for sure, V'gamar Abal L'Shem Kedushin. So if he was boiler afterwards, it was definitely L'Shem Kedushin, so it takes effect. Mar Sava, but the second opinion, Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda in the Braisa holds, Ein Adam Yideya, Shem Kedushin Taifsim V'pachas M'Shava Pruta. This is not something that people necessarily know. When he was Mekadosh before, with less than a Shava Pruta, he didn't know that the Kedushin does not take effect. So therefore, V'chikabal Adaita the Kedushin Rishayin Baal. When he's living with her afterwards, he's only living with her thinking that she's already married from before. He was never Machavan by this Bia now that it should be L'Shem Kedushin. So you can't say that now there's a new Kedushin taking effect. That's the machlekes. So this has nothing. This has nothing to do with what we're discussing before regarding the case of a Tnai. Eisvei, the Gemara asks a question from another Braisa on what Rabbi said. Person says to his wife, "Hareni boy alech almanas yirtza abba." So I'm living with you. I'm getting married to you. This could be a kedushin on the condition that your father will agree to this marriage. So the Tanakama says, "Afal pishalei rotza ha'av mukadeshes." Even if the father did not want, still she's going to be married. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda Mishom Rab Shimon says that Ratza Av Mukadeshes, if the father agrees, she'll be Mukadeshes. Loi Ratza Av Ein Mukadeshes. If the father does not agree, then she will not be Mukadeshes. Frek the Gemara, the Hahacha over here in this case, the Chitos Isha Achas Dami. Rashi actually is not Goyres exactly like it says here in the Gemara. Chitos Isha Achas. Rashi says, Goyres Vahahacha Tos Isha Achas Hi. Over here, it's all a mistake or it's a condition. Regarding one woman, he marries her and he makes a condition that your father should agree. And then it turns out that the father does not agree. So the question is that condition serious? Is it not serious? And then he lived with her. But Pa'al Mamish, he lived with her. So now do we say that the Bia is going to be as nus because the condition was not fulfilled? Or do we say the Bia is not going to be as nus? Once he lives with her, he does not want it to be as nus, and he'll be married to her, even if the condition is not fulfilled. And we're talking here about one wife. It doesn't say anything that he married her and he divorced her and then he married her again. Upligi. And they're arguing even regarding one wife. When a person makes a condition, whether the Bia itself that tells us that he's interested in getting married to her unconditionally. Answers the Gemara, no, over there it's a different story. Hasam baha kamifligi. Over there the condition itself was not clear. Why? Because Mar Savar, one opinion over there is, when he said, Almanas sheyirtza ha'av, that I'm marrying you with the condition that the father agrees, what did he mean? Almanas sheyishtakav. He meant to say, as long as the father is quiet. As long as he doesn't comment one way or another. And the case over there was that the father was quiet. The father didn't say yes, he did not say no, and therefore it takes effect. That's the way the Tanakama interprets this Tnai. So the Bia takes effect. Omar Savar, Rab Shimon ben Yehuda holds, when he made this condition, then only if the father agrees, the meaning of the condition is that the father has to say yes. The father never said yes over here. So therefore, the Kedushin does not take effect. So this is not a machlekes that's related to the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. The machlekes of Rav and Shmuel is when a person makes a condition, we know what the condition is. We have no doubts what the condition is. And then later he lives with her. So do we say that now that he had Bia, so that itself means that he wants to be married to her unconditionally because he doesn't want it to be a business? That was the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. But over here it's a different story. Over here the machlekes is regarding the Tnai itself. How do we interpret this Tnai? Does he need the father to say yes? That's what he meant in the T'nai? Or no, even if the father is just quiet, it's good enough. So therefore, it's not a shaila on Rabbi's interpretation of Rav and Shmuel's machlokes. Okay, we'll stop over here today.
Shaka.